Welcome to the road to 1 million US dollars, and let's get right into the Bitcoin chart for today, starting on this 2-hour time frame for Bitcoin, and then we're going to move on to higher and higher time frames. Now, the reason I'm starting on this 2-hour time frame here today, guys, is because Bitcoin just had another touch with this ascending line of resistance, currently sitting at around 121k in the Bitcoin price. Notice how this ascending line of resistance also appeared at the same time as we had lower lows in the RSI momentum indicator, which is what we call a bearish divergence. Now, in the case that you don't know, typically a bearish divergence plays out either in the form of some choppy sideways price action or potentially some bearish momentum. However, there is something to note about this bearish divergence here specifically, which is that we don't really have a confirmation yet of this bearish divergence, which is that we don't really have a strong confirmation of this bearish divergence here yet. Right now, we are seeing a short-term rejection from this trend line, but we need to get some kind of bearish candle close or maybe just some choppy sideways price action before we can confirm that this bearish divergence is actually in play. Besides that, the point of invalidation for this bearish divergence is if we make a new high in the Bitcoin price. After that, this bearish divergence specifically is no longer active, but we can look for a potential new bearish divergence to be created somewhere down the line. When I recorded my video yesterday, guys, we were trading right around here, and the call was very simply, if we ended up breaking back down below this would of course be a bearish signal because we would break this level of resistance and then fail to flip it into a level of support. But as you can see right here, we actually did end up flipping this into a level of support, which is of course bullish, and from there we saw a continuation to the upside today. Besides that, we actually also confirmed the uptrend on the 1-day time frame, so this is actually quite bullish on this 1-day time frame specifically, although there are still some things to keep in mind, which I will show you in just a second. But sticking to this 1-day time frame for just a minute here, we were waiting for this candle close above, because closing above 117k was in fact a bullish confirmation, after which we would be looking for a move up to the next area of resistance from 119 all the way up to 120k. So thankfully we did not get any confusion here by maybe closing just below this ascending line of resistance here. We just closed the candle clean above, which is the absolute most ideal outcome right there. Either way, so moving on to this 2-day time frame, notice how we do not get a candle close in the next 28 hours as I'm recording this video, at least, meaning that yes, right now this is starting to look like we are about to get another bullish confirmation on yet another higher time frame. However, we do need to wait for another 28 hours before we can actually confirm that this is going to be bullish here. In fact, you could even draw a bit of an ascending trend line on this 2-day time frame just as an extra safety measure, where most ideally we get a candle close above 122k in order to properly confirm that we're actually breaking out. But already above 120k on this 2-day time frame is exactly what I am looking for in order to confirm that we are indeed ready for that next move to the upside. So make sure to check back in with the channel here tomorrow, where we are properly going to confirm everything. Now, before I leave the 2-day time frame behind, guys, I do want to talk about this situation, because I'm seeing some people talk about this as if this is a double bottom right here. Now, the reason I'm starting to see people talk about this is because if you see this as a double bottom pattern and we just broke the neckline here, then you would take a measurement like this and say, well, the price target here is about 124k. So if you're seeing people talk about this, then it means that they have absolutely no idea what they are talking about, because a double bottom pattern is a reversal pattern. So that would make sense if we came into this pattern like this and then formed a double bottom, after which we reversed out of it. But in this case, this is not a downtrend that we were in and then ended up reversing from, right? So overall, this is all just an uptrend. And if you want to be less generous, like I typically am with the technical analysis, I want to be as objective as possible, then you would just call this a range on this time frame specifically, but this is certainly not a downtrend. So I just wanted to have pointed at this and say that this is not a double bottom pattern, and therefore they could still be right. Like we could still just get this move to the upside and they will say like, yeah, we hit our price target, but this is not a valid double bottom pattern. Okay, moving on to the Bitcoin ETF flow tables. Yesterday we saw another massive inflow into the Bitcoin ETFs. So this is all very bullish stuff. That opening on Monday here, where we just got a massive inflow straight out of the gates, was a bullish signal. So it is a good thing that we check back in with this every single day. Now lastly, moving on to the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. First of all, on this 3-day time frame, right now, most of the liquidity is actually to the downside here in the short term. And this is, of course, because we just saw violent bullish momentum here over the last couple of days without any major pullbacks or anything like that. So there is a lot of liquidity to the downside now at 117.7K, 116.7K as well. And then below that, you're already talking about the 115K level at that point. So we don't need to go there. Like if we're just holding above all the ascending trend lines and stuff like this on the lower time frames as well, we don't end up confirming that potentially bearish signal, that bearish divergence that I talked about earlier in the video, then nothing major needs to really happen. We don't need to take out this liquidity. But if you are starting to see that bearish divergence confirm, we start breaking the ascending trend lines on the lower time frames, we're breaking critical levels of support, then of course after that you are starting to look at these levels as potential magnets for the Bitcoin price to get attracted to. Not much to really see there on the 2-week time frame, so I'm just going to move straight to the 1-year time frame, because we have now finally taken out that massive level of liquidity at around 120K in the Bitcoin price, 119K as well. All of this upside liquidity has now been taken out, and hopefully you watched the entire saga of us actually trading this exact reversal here in the short term. You actively saw me call this entire reversal in real time publicly on the channel here, as well as saying like, yeah, we have a bunch of liquidity down here, but we are no longer targeting this after we confirmed this reversal right around here, right? So now most of that liquidity to the upside has been taken out, and to confirm the proper next targets, we need to be a bit more patient and wait for some candle closes here. So make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications on so you do not miss any of these important update videos. Either way, if you do end up subscribing or not, thank you for watching once again, and I will see you tomorrow in the next one.